We live in a time of exhaustion and excess. There have been other times in human history when excess ruled. The French Revolution or the collapse of the British monarchy in the 17th century. These were times in which those in power became so self-indulgent that they ignored those at the other end of the spectrum. The gap between rich and poor became cataclysmic, and the rest is history. Thousands of years of monarchy were brought to a bloody end. History reflects these patterns so clearly. Today we live in a more civilized society than these examples, but the patterns are still the same. These are times when morally questionable people often rise to power. Excess breeds lack, which leads to scant resources, which leads to starvation, not just of food, but also of values, which leads to exhaustion, both individual and collective. This is something to contemplate, the notion of collective exhaustion. We tend to think of exhaustion as an individual phenomenon, but it can be extended to encompass the whole planet. We're exhausting our resources, our fossil fuels, our morals, our souls. I wonder how many of us have felt this exhaustion down to the level of our souls. The fabric of our civilization leaves us parched, thirsty for meaning, for something nobler. This shadow stalks our communities, our daily lives, and most of the time we don't even realize how thirsty we are. This transformational way is a special one. It's a direct route to the divine inside us, our higher self. This is why the shadow expression is exhaustion, because when we cut ourselves off from our own source, our divinity, then we begin to die. We work to excess, we travel excessively, we think and worry excessively, we even become excessive sinkers. We can't rest on a single flower long enough to drink of its nectar. If you're drawn to this wisdom, then consider staying with it. Make it a permanent part of your life. Have the courage to stick with it and dig deep, and it will nourish you. You'll find the nectar coming right from the heart of the wisdom. The important thing is to stay consistent, to put down roots. If you feel exhausted to the depths of your being, this is the answer to your prayers. Stay with a single thing. The partner to this key is the 37th, and its shadow expression is weakness. We're weak when we spread our energies too wide. There's strength in focus. This key is about learning not to waste energy and time. Look at your life. See how widely you spread your energy. Can you be so many things to so many people? How can you encompass that much and retain your integrity? There's a ruthlessness needed in tackling the shadow of exhaustion. We're going to have to cut some deadwood out of our life. We'll need to get rid of some things, some commitments. Consider this carefully then. We need to take our time, not rush. Rushing is the whole problem. We need to slow down and be considerate of our own energy. We need to let the higher self inside us decide what's truly meaningful to our soul. Excess is a pattern that we'll find is rife in our own life. We do too much in certain areas and too little in others. Perhaps our working life is fulfilling, but our relationships are suffering. Perhaps we give too much time to our spiritual path, and our family is parched by our absence. Only we know where the excess lies. When we begin trimming off the excess in our life, things soon find a healthy balance. It's like eating less. Our body breathes a sigh of relief. We're finally giving it a break so it begins to readjust itself to the rhythm it yearns for, to be in harmony. Excess also commands our senses. We taste too much, We watch too much. We scroll too much. We speak too much. We overwhelm our senses with stimuli. We've forgotten how to do nothing. We've forgotten how to be quiet, how to be simple, how to just be. How often do we go out into our yard and light a fire and sit by it? We may not even have a yard. How often do we take a bracing swim in a wild river? How often do we wake early and let the sounds of the birds just tickle our eardrums? How often do we go out at night and consider the stars? How often do we sit in silence or candlelight with the one we love, or read a book aloud to a friend or a child, or go for a walk without a purpose? These are the good things of life. Our life can be filled with such things if we just make room for them. So get busy trimming. Trim the fat off. It's never too late to be reborn. Perhaps you can see how the gift of resolve works. It takes resolve to stay with something that feeds our soul. We have to change to habits that fuel our soul rather than excessive behaviors that drain our soul. This doesn't require being a Puritan or an ascetic. That too is excess in the direction of spirituality. The secret is in the balance, in the subtlety. To come close to God, we have to learn subtlety and refinement. We can imbibe the fruits of life, but with measure and moderation. There are even times when we can have more than we need. Life allows that. Life encourages that. But again, at the right moment and in the right circumstances. The gift of resolve is our genius. It's to fix our eye on a mark and bring it into being. It's to follow something through all the way. Resolve is to propel our life in the direction it's designed to go. There's a thing we're here to do, and only we can do it. Our job is to be our authentic self, the person no one can be but us. When we finally decide to do that, then we'll be flooded with the gift of resolve. We'll find the energy that sustains us in our task, and it won't drain us. Rather, it'll keep filling us up, replenishing us from within. To do the soul's work is to be filled with life, with enthusiasm, and to place ourselves in the exact position to garner support. Everything will simply come to us, simply fall into place. If we only knew how much the divine is seeking us. When we sever the connection, the higher impulses pursue us relentlessly. They do everything at their disposal to get our attention and correct our course. That's why we suffer, because we're not listening. The 37th gift of equality is a mirror to this 40th gift of resolve. They're opposites that complement each other perfectly. Equality is about harmonizing, finding balance between the many spheres of our life. Resolve is about our single-mindedness to bring about that equalization, to feed our community in equal measure to ourselves, to feed our body and its needs as much as our soul, to feed the inner and the outer in equal part. The 40th gift is resolve, but again, not to excess. A part of resolve is to flow with its various nuances. Life provides distractions. It provides breaks, natural breaks. We can do what we're intent on doing, but when life calls us away for a moment, especially a human moment, then take a break. Taking breaks is part of the gift of resolve. The breaks need to be balanced with the work. Otherwise, our life is over and we have had no time for enjoyment, for savoring its beauties. It's like holidays. We work for 48 weeks and holiday for 4. What kind of a balance is that? What kind of a life is that? But don't get caught at the other end of the spectrum either. Many people are content to live off the state or spend the lion's share of their time distracted. drifting, scrolling, watching TV. Of course, there are times when that's in our flow. There are natural cycles of rest and exploration, and there are cycles of work when we're called to fulfill our mission in life. We have to attune to these things. It's a constant flow, and we have to be alert to our tendency towards excess. Resolve gives everything a perspective. It drives us along the trajectory that's natural for us. Relaxation is also part of this gift. That's interesting because how do we bring together resolve and relaxation? Not by taking shortcuts, but through balance between our need for rest and our need for work. What's restful for our soul? Not mindless distraction, but truly restful for our soul. Meeting someone who absolutely loves us, honors us for who we are. That's restful. Being with our children, or our pet, or time in nature. That's restful. Doing the work we love with the people we love. That's restful. Rest can be everywhere when we're resolved not to give in to excess. Having this gift also means that we can inspire others. When a stressed out person meets a deeply fulfilled person, a powerful exchange takes place. We can be that second person, and the world will begin to change. Following the will of our human ego leads us to imbalance, excess, and exhaustion. Through resolve, we can learn to follow the will of our higher self instead, and live a life that is nourishing for our soul. Higher will is here to help us relax so deeply into our human bodies that we begin to shine with light. To surrender our human ego to the higher will of our soul is a path of divine alchemy. Our human life is the base matter, and our spiritual nature is the gold.